I want to spend the majority of this show, even after the break, talking about the SEC and the Big Ten and what they're trying to do to the college football playoff. And this is not something that's new information. They had said this a year ago when they were looking at the next TV contract, which starts in 2026. The other two Power Four conferences, everybody's allowed to have them kind of captain the ship when it comes to what the next iteration of the playoff is going to be. And so they have taken that as an indication that they should rig the game in their favor. And I kind of wondered if it would be like a couple years before this came up or whatever, but they want the 4 automatic qualifiers per league. And I will tell you right now that if that goes through, you're going to alienate more than half the country. You're going to alienate a lot of people, and it is total bullshit because the SEC showed this year they did not have 4 deserving teams that made it. So what happens not even a month after that game's over? What do? They say, well, this automatic qualifier thing that we had, we really want to go through it because we feel we were wronged. So just like everything else in America now, if something doesn't go your way and you don't win, the game is rigged against you and we have to fix it. No, maybe you just weren't good enough. Maybe, just maybe, you shouldn't have had a bunch of teams lose 3 games. Maybe parity is starting to happen. Maybe that's going to continue to happen, and you know it. So the only way that you can get your way is to rig the game. And the Big Ten got 4 last year because they earned it. They had 4 of the better teams that earned it. But they also know that there by the grace of God go I when it comes to the SEC, and it could very much happen again. So instead of just saying like, hey, and here's the thing, most years one will get 4 and one will get 3. But so they can corner all the money, and they can get the majority of the money, and then get the majority of the teams, and they can make it just about 2 of them. They're trying to rig the game, and it is not, if there are 4 automatic qualifiers, it is not a playoff, it is an invitational. And that is bogus, and it's ridiculous, and no one outside those 2 conferences should allow it to stand. That should be the absolute hill that they die on, is that we are not doing automatic qualifiers to that level. There is no way, because just like there were 4 Big Ten teams, there were 2 other Big 12 teams that could have made an argument based on the SEC stand. Like BYU can make the same argument that Ole Miss can based on the same standards that Ole Miss was using, right? And they didn't get any consideration at all. Iowa State, based on the Ole Miss standard of this, like losses in conference to good teams don't count, then they could have made the same argument that the conference championship game against Arizona State didn't matter because by just making it, they were there. So again, like, you have, like, as much as we hate the committee, like taking them completely out of this and basically telling them to rank it because you're going to have 4 SEC teams, 4 Big 12 teams, 4 Big 10 teams, 2 ACC, 2 Big 10, 1 group of 5, and the rest at large. I mean, that's nonsense. And they've also had a carve out for Notre Dame so that they can get Notre Dame on their side. But Notre Dame's going to be on either, like, they'll be fine either way. It is ridiculous, and I cannot tell you how much it disgusts me that we are at the I didn't get my way, so I need to rig the game point at this.
Yeah, I'm having a hard time trying to find the words that really kind of, that would go against you at this point, because I mean, I couldn't have said it better myself. And it's really frustrating too, because
if you're looking for a wheeled cooler, this is the Arctic 52 quart ultralight wheeled cooler. I hauled it on a deck, I hauled it downstairs, upstairs, grass, gravel, sandy road, mud puddles, the whole bit. And I gotta say, it is pretty darn tough. I really do like the wheels and the tow handle. It's easy to hold on to, even when full. It made it 6 full days with ice present, still keeping cool enough temperatures to keep drinks cold. This is a great cooler. And if you're looking for a new wheeled cooler that tows really nicely, this is a great option.
when you look back at last year, I mean, it's the first year last year where we had 12 teams. And I don't recall right now, as you know, as I continue to age, my memory is getting worse and worse. But at the end of last season, when the initial 12 came out, I don't recall hearing a lot of disappointed voices. I don't recall hearing a lot of, that's not fair, this team should be in, this team should be out. There, I know that there were some that were thinking like, Boise, okay, fine, et cetera. So I heard a little bit of that, but just after you had a season in which I think it was about as fair as it got between 1 through 12, and now we want to disrupt that system, and now we continue to show how money is more important than the actual sport and the fan base of every team, and the college football in general really had no issue 1 through 12. And now we want to go in there and show how possibly we can disrupt that from a greed standpoint. Yeah, it doesn't sit right with me. I know it doesn't sit right with you. And it's exhausting. It truly is exhausting to watch these people in power continuously try to find a way to disrupt what we have already. And as you say, rig it in their favor when this is we already have 2 conferences that we damn well know has all the riches in the world. And to try to continue world domination the way that they're doing, it's just exhausting to watch it. And we know that it's unfair to some of these other programs that are deserving to be up there as well.
Yeah, I don't, I don't appreciate unfairness in any regard. And the thing is, the minute you become okay with any type of unfairness, then you're kind of okay with all types of unfairness.
Right.
And then until it circles around and be like, no, I'm the one who's supposed to benefit. We're supposed to screw them. You're like, everything's circular, right? It all comes back down. Like, you start taking away things and then it comes back on you. This is really pigs get fat, hogs get slaughtered. And what the SEC and Big Ten are doing is is being so greedy that eventually they ruin the product. And you're just another thing. And they are missing out on what makes college football so entertaining. And at times more entertaining than even the NFL, which gets the big ratings. They have this potential to grow, and growth for college football means that the Big 12 grows and the ACC grows and the American grows and the Mountain West grows, and the rising tide lifts all boats. But as soon as the other boats start to lift in the tide, if you try and sink them, that's not good. I understand corporate greed, and that's what this is. It is absolute straight up and down corporate greed from these two. But when you intersect it with the world that is sports, where things that are decided on the field, and you earn it on the field, making it an invitational for 8 teams from 2 leagues absolutely flies in the face of fair competition, sports, everything that sports is about. Yep. This is wrong. In every single way, it is wrong. And as fans, I'm not this is a call your senators kind of moment for fans. If this goes down, fans of the ones that get screwed need to stand up and say, no, we do not want this. We do not want this. This is not what we signed up for. But they also know, and Bill Hancock told this to Smokey and Craig at Big 12 Media Days 2 years ago. And they were so flabbergasted they didn't ask him a follow-up. In fact, the interview ended a couple minutes after that. Because they really, he said the quiet part out loud, and when he did that, it locked up 2 guys who never get locked up. And I would like to think that because, of course, I really don't like Bill Hancock at all. So there's a chance I wouldn't have been involved in that interview anyway, because they would have been like, well, there's a chance that 5 minutes in, Paul just goes off and is like, no, I'm not. No, you can't just sit here and say this, because it was, it'd be like me interviewing JD Vance. Right now, I'd be like, stop it. Stop. I can't. Or, any politician right now. I'd be like, just stop. You guys are killing us all. Both of you.
Yeah.
But like that's what it would have been like. But even still, I might have been shell shocked by it myself. He said when Craig asked him, well, if it's just 2 leagues and you're putting that on, don't you think that will alienate the viewers? And he's like, no, basically the gist of it was they'll watch what we put on. Like they'll watch what we put on. We're not worried about that.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's necessarily true for college football. I don't think it's true for college. And this also intersects with, and we'll talk about this more after the break, but they're trying to expand the college football playoff. They're also trying to piggyback this with talking about expanding the college basketball tournament as well, thing they don't need to do. No. And here we sat here and yelled for years, we need a playoff, we need a playoff, we need a playoff. They did well the first year out of the box, and now they're already trying to mess it up.
Correct.
It's, I can't. Yeah, go ahead.
It's infuriating. No, it's absolutely infuriating. And what I'm about to say, I know is not necessarily an apples to apples comparison, but listening to you talk, I can't think of the NFL is king. We all know the NFL is king, and it rules the roost every Sunday in the fall. But there's something very unique. And as somebody who didn't grow in a college sports town or around college sports environment, I never fully understood it until I moved to Waco, and I lived in Texas for 4 years. I got to see it firsthand. There's something ultra unique about college football fandom in general. It's not just, how do I describe it? It's not just fandom. It is a way of life. It almost feels like a part of your family. It's something sweet and innocent and different about the way people are fans of pro sports and pro teams. Friends of mine who have been lifelong fans of Major League Baseball, one guy in particular who's a huge Cubs fan and is a baseball savant, he has told me over the past couple of years, he has stopped watching baseball entirely because the money that's been thrown around in the offseason and the divide between the haves and the have-nots is now looking like English Premier League soccer. You have 2, 3, 4, 5 teams at most who've got it all. And then you have everybody else. And then we've got a dog and pony show of here's a third wild card team. Or here's, let's make it look like teams are actually still in the race when we know these teams that are making at least the last 2 wild card spots pretty much don't have a shot at all. So when I'm listening to this and thinking about college football, I'm thinking about it in the same way. You are separating the haves and the have-nots, and this notion that you won't turn off a fan base of any particular school, and especially a blue blood, it absolutely can happen. It can happen. You can alienate the fans. You can piss them off to the point of like, you know what? This is pointless for me to watch because if we're getting 8 spots for only the Big Ten and the SEC, then why am I investing my time knowing that my team, even if they finish 10-2, won't even get in the door in a 12-team playoff?
Yeah, I mean it's crazy. Could be worse. Paul, could be worse. You could try and interview the word salad imbecile. That would be Jerry Jones. Yeah.
Oh,
no, look,
wow.
Here's the thing. I'll tell you, when you get to sit down with Jerry, even though he throws you some word salad, he's way more pleasant.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. He's way more pleasant. But yeah.
Can I say one thing about Jerry Jones? I will say the one thing that has always impressed me about him, no matter how his team is performing, he is out there in front of the media after every game on Sunday. And whether you like what he has to say or not, he is out there. And I absolutely appreciate that about him. I really do.
I do and I don't.
Well, I know you don't love what he has to say. I know that.
I mean, like it's I mean, you know. But yeah, but like to all this, like trying to rig the game, just I'm going to make this comparison because I see so many overlaps to like how American society works right now. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of overlaps. Like corporations are running our country. The corporations run our country.
Correct.
We have as close to, if not an oligarchy right now, as you can ever imagine. And this is just the peak of them. Like this is them pulling the curtain down. The oligarchy's been going on for 30 years. It's been going on that long. Maybe since the 80s. Like really, it's like since the 80s, it's been like corporations, like bigger and bigger and bigger. The antithesis of what after the Industrial Revolution with Teddy Roosevelt, when we said we got to bust these trusts, like these things are getting too big, it's hurting America. We're in the opposite direction of that right now. And I know that history's cyclical and things will come back around. But we're talking about we're trillions of dollars, which in 1910 they couldn't have even imagined. Like 2 million was like,
right.
It was ridiculous. So, but so we have this thing going on, and we are, because it gets awkward, because we don't want to discuss things that we disagree about. I don't know how many conversations I have. Well, I don't pay attention to it. Look, I'm telling you right now, now's the time to start paying attention to all of this. Every time, something happens that somebody gets screwed, a corporation is pretty much benefiting. And so SEC, Big Ten, even the Big 12 and ACC, they're corporations too. And it's kind of like there was a fight a few years ago about the internet where they wanted a two-tiered internet where the providers could charge people more, and then it was gonna make your bills go up because if you were a Netflix subscriber, they'd charge you more because you're streaming and all these things. And it got to be this fight about the internet, which is supposed to be from its inception free and open, and then there's everybody pays you do this, this is what you pay. That's the agreement. And they were going to try to structure out the internet. So you had to take sides with corporations of do I fight AT&T or do I fight Netflix on this? Well, Netflix was right, but they're still a big, gigantic corporation. You just had to pick the one that was getting screwed. And on this side, the Big 12 and the ACC are getting screwed. And so we're all in the midst of a corporate war for this reason. And it's now spilled over into that attitude, and the fact that corporations can solve all our problems has now spilled over into college athletics. And I don't like it. And we're kind of powerless to stop it because they're just going to do where the money goes. And that's become the most pure American ideal of I'm getting the most money I can. But at what expense? At the expense of quality, at the expense of, what the people want, what the sport is. This is, I don't mean to sound like one of those dudes, but this bears watching. And if you care about college football, you need to watch this and make sure, make sure that you're you, with your checkbook, with your ticket buying, with your viewing, if they turn this into the SEC Big Ten Educational, you're not going to watch it because it's not the playoff. They just had a playoff. The most pure decision of a champion we've ever had. And it was too good for them. It was too righteous. It was too pure. And one of the conferences had to pay for its sins for the first time ever. And now they want to rig the game. That's what corporations do. Oh, you don't like that we dump all our trash into the river? Oh, well, guess what? We're going to buy a politician who's going to write a law that says we can dump trash into that river. So this guy fought against us dumping trash in the river. We don't want to pay for the trucks to take it to where we want. We're going to buy a guy who's going to go dump trash in the river. That's what the SEC is doing right now. We're going to rig a system to where we don't ever have to be sad anymore. Our way is going to be that. And the corporate greed behind this, I cannot tell you how much it pisses me off because it's just we're living in the Matrix, man. We're just food for the machines. That's all we are, and that's what the SEC and Big Ten are treating us like.
Yeah, no, it's well said. It's well said. I wish I could add to it. I don't know why. I don't think I need to add anything more. It's absolutely 100% correct. 100%. Yeah.
So when we come back, I want to talk about expanding the college basketball tournament, an equally shitty idea.
God.
An equally bad idea because, again, they've hit a sweet spot with it.
Yep.
They've hit a great sweet spot with it, and all they can do, and this is all four of them now. This is the Big 12. I asked Brett Yormark about it last year. It was the only time I've ever talked to him where he's been a little bit evasive on it because I think he knew that we were right about it. Because it was actually during the NCAA tournament when we asked him.